Hi everyone, welcome to my 5-minute coaching tip about how to regain control at periods when we feel a little bit overwhelmed and a little bit full up. I'm just going to take 5 minutes to share with you quite a practical technique based on my experience as a professional business coach. My name's Rachel and I'm from a company called Motion Learning, and quite often we find when working with clients in this space that actually once a client starts to feel overwhelmed and starts to fill up, then actually we can sometimes become a bit disorientated and can't quite see reality or can't gain perspective enough in order to be able to identify our first next steps. So that's what I aim to share with you today, something that can help you with that. Might help if you have a pen and piece of paper. Feel free to stop and restart the video as much as you need to write your notes down at different points. So I want to start by asking us to think about getting out what is in. So putting down onto paper what we are experiencing on the inside. So take a moment to write down your thoughts about all those different things that are filling you up. Please try not to judge them. It might be as simple as needing to go to the post office, or it might be as complex as writing a report, or anything in between. Take a moment now, write your thoughts down, and once you have done that, we can look at what it tells us. Because now when you look at the list, what you will see is that there are things that sit at lots and lots of different levels. So our starting point is to filter these out for you. And I want you to imagine that we're going to put these things into 3 different groupings. One is called direct, one is called indirect, and one is called no control. Things that sit within our direct control are things that typically we can just sort, we can do something about. Doesn't mean they're easy. It might be something like going to the gym tonight or sending a particular email. Things that sit within our indirect control are concerns that we can't just solve by ourselves. We actually require the help from somebody else in order to solve that problem. So, for example, it might be I've got to complete a report, but I can't complete the report until you've given me some of the information that I need. And the group number 3 we call no control. And this is whether we like it or not. Actually, that's our situational reality, so we can fight it, but we can't actually do anything about it. I think our shared experience of the global pandemic was a really good example of where quite a lot of us felt that we had no control in that space. So the very first thing I'd like you to do is for you to now separate out the things on your list into those 3 different areas of direct, indirect, and no control. It may help for you to pause this video again and for you to put a D, an I, or an N against those different things. So our next place to go to is to start with the things that we have got direct control identified against. And what I'm going to ask you to do here is just to identify the very first action you need to take in order to nudge that thing a little bit further forward. So for example, if I've got a difficult email to send, my very first action might just be, not even to think about sending it, but to brainstorm down some of the things that I want to say. Break it down, break it down, break it down until you get a specific action. Now I'd like you to take your indirect control list. And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to ask yourself, of the bit that is in my sphere of influence, in my control, what is it that I can do? So for example, if I need to get some information from you for a report and I don't feel like you're coming back to me with it, I might decide that my first action is to remind you of exactly what I need, the timing I need it by, and just how important it is to me. And I might choose to do that in an email. So my first draft might be, or my first action might be just to kind of draft exactly what it is that I want to say. So with your indirect control concerns, I'm going to ask you just to identify the very first action of the part that you can do something about. We come then to our no control, and no control by its very nature means that there's nothing much that we can do about it. So we have to change the way we view those things that sit in our no control. You know when you're sitting in a traffic jam and you don't much like it and you can feel frustrated, but then a calmness comes over you when you recognise that actually, sadly, I have no control of this at the moment in time. So I'm going to ask you now just to look at your no control concerns and just ask yourself, can I change the way I view this, at least for now? Because maybe I can't do something about it now, but I might be able to in the future. And if I can't do something about it now, maybe my energy would be better spent on focusing on executing those actions from my direct and indirect list instead. It could be that you can distract yourself, which is a very, very good response. So we have direct, indirect, and no control. And My suggestion is that when we feel full up, take a moment just to ask yourself, what am I concerned about right now? Write a list if it helps, and say to yourself, does that sit within my direct, my indirect, or does that indeed sit within my no control? And what does my response to that tell me that I need to do? If you have any questions as you practice this and as you work through it, please do feel free to reach out to me directly via our website, www.motionlearning.com. You can find all our contact details and lots of extra tools and different pieces of information that might help you with different things. I wish you lots of luck. If you try this out and it works, I'd love to know about your successes as well.